Cat boss.
The cat boss. No, this cat ain't no boss.
Oh well. Trying to
This
figure out
cat's
how to do that.
this cat's part chicken, but
Scaredy cat.
anyways, we are here, and we are just on time. Actually, we're like 2 minutes early. Actually, we're 1 minute early, but
1 minute. Yeah.
yeah.
Hello,
So
everybody, especially those that are early.
so once again, it's time for everyone's favorite internet radio show.
Insert title here.
The show that changes its name so frequently, we put a placeholder in. And the show that I think Damon said about the show yesterday when we were talking on the Doing and Johnny show, you're still doing that no name thing? So,
Yeah. No name, no topic.
oh, we got topics. I got
Well,
plenty
yeah.
of topics.
Random topic. Random topic. Yeah.
I got topics.
And it's really
up
it's
the
really
wazoo.
random name, right?
You know, Brian, I'm a tough person to buy gifts for.
You are.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you can think of many things I'm interested in, but could you really come up with a good gift to buy for me if you need it to?
Hey, can always give you a Fisher receiver, right?
But I already have one of those.
But you have, don't you have 5?
I
Or did I lose count?
three Fisher receivers.
Only 3. Okay, and none of them work properly.
No, but
Can you steal parts from one to the other to get and get one working?
well, not quite. But
And how is it? So one of them you got was, I think it was the last one.
yeah,
Apparently the guy packaged it properly and it still broke the turn arm off.
no, he didn't. Well, he packaged it not that great, but
Okay.
you know, he I mean, the dust cover did not crack, but the dust cover got knocked off, in a way that it ripped the screws that were holding the hinges out of the back.
I see.
So I've got to use a little bit of wood filler or wood glue or stuff like that and kind of repair
Wood?
the screw holes. Well, it's particle board.
Oh.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I thought it was all plastic or metal.
No, well, the front faceplate is metal, but the casing around the side has like a wood grain pattern, but it's
Right.
like particle board
Particle board,
past
yeah.
that. So, and the hinges were just screwed into the back using wood screws, and it just
Right.
ripped right out of the particle board with the slightest bit of pressure. And speaking of particle board, we have Sir Mars in the house.
Hey Mars,
Hi.
how's the coffee?
Oh, do I need to leave for half an hour?
No, you don't. No, you don't. We're going to lull you into a false sense of security, and then I'm going to surprise you with a left hook.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I'm just saying. I need a shower, so you want to talk about that? I can just leave for about 20 minutes, take a shower, and come back. I have no problem with that.
At some point during the
Yeah.
show, I have a bipartisan topic. But right now we're talking about Fisher receivers, which is also bipartisan.
Oh.
Actually, my receivers are very partisan. Some of them have a working left channel. Some of them have a working right channel.
We just run both at the same time, and you'll be fine. What's wrong with this?
That's
Just run them
right.
both. It's fine. Oh, you're way over my
I'm
microphone,
keeping
no
the
wonder.
left-leaning receivers. I am disposing the right-leaning. No, kidding. That would be an
Well,
asshole
and
move.
this friend of mine had an open reel recorder. He was recording albums to tape,
Mhm.
and I probably told this before because we're redundant anyway.
Yeah.
So he recorded the thing, and for some reason, only the left channel recorded. So he went back. It has an overdubbing feature on his deck, and then he did the report channel, the right channel, separately, rather than starting all over
Oh,
again.
that's awful.
And
that
the
is
two were
awful.
slightly out of sync, so you had a built-in echo
Oh.
or
I was gonna
like a
say-
reverb.
I was gonna say I think I have that dude's tapes, but no, I don't. I bought some 90-minute blank used 8-track tapes off of eBay because I wanted to have 90-minute blank tapes if I wanted to make like, you know, an 8-track of like a double album or something like that if I, you know, start dubbing things. And they were advertised as and I have a bulk eraser too because most 8-track recorders suck at erasing what was previously on the tape. Now, Sparky Toaster came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And he's all finished kicking ass. Oh, well.
All right, Sparky.
Sparky, there's always a little extra more ass you can kick, so you're in the right place.
That's right. That's right.
But so, anyways, I bought these used blank 90-minute 8-track tapes off of eBay, and they were labeled as having on them Led Zeppelin A to Z on all 4 of the tapes. Led Zeppelin A to Z tape 1, Led Zeppelin A to Z tape 2, and each tape being a 90-minute tape. And it turns out the guy was taping a program off of FM radio at some point in the mid to late 70s. Best I can figure, I think he was recording this before In Through the Outdoor came out because I don't think it was including songs from that album. But so
basically he was catching up all of the Led Zeppelin albums that were available at the time.
It was a radio program that was playing all the Led Zeppelin songs in alphabetical order.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that was cool. But the problem was that his recorder only worked on one side.
So he only had one channel, left channel or right or whatever.
Yeah, he only had one channel.
Sweet.
But I did actually dub those tapes in, if for anything, for the stuff in between, because he did include the like radio chatter in between tracks. So that
record
was
it, just kind of move it to the center and re-record it back on the tape.
Well, yeah, I only recorded the working channel. There was no sense in making recording a stereo recording and recording in half silence. So yeah, I recorded in mono files, only the working channel. So if I pull these up right now, if I pull up one of these tapes, you'll hear it centered. So I'll just kind of find a spot here. And so we're in the B's right here with Black Dog, and so this is one side of Black Dog. Record off of FM onto 8-track. All right, let's get to the end and see what they do in between songs here. Oh, they just crossfade to another song. Well, somewhere in here we got commercials and things like that.
Yeah, if you get the right commercial, you could probably even put a date on when it was recorded.
Yeah.
Maybe you get the very first intro to the McRib.
I could, maybe.
Was McRib in the 70s?
I don't know when that came out.
I'm not finding any commercials, but I know some of these tapes do. Maybe this guy was being attentive to pausing between.
Or maybe he got the Arby's RBQ.
What?
Do you know what the RBQ is?
You
You know what the RBQ is?
That's an Arby's barbecue, I take it?
Yeah. What was interesting in the East Coast for quite a while, that was a standard menu item. And you come to the West Coast, and it would be a special item, rarely show up. And then sometimes you go into the store and you go, "Hey, do you have an barbecue?" And they look like they don't know what are you talking about?
All right.
I mean, how hard is it to take an Arby's sandwich and throw a little barbecue on there? And
Sparky likes the barbecues. Do you
Yeah,
have
I like-
cheese?
Oh, right, cheese.
Yeah.
Can you get cheese and pickle on them?
Well, I know that Arby's has the
Arby's?
beef and cheddar.
Do they
But-
have pickle at Arby's?
That's the
I don't know.
standard. Beef and cheddar standard. Yeah.
I like the big
Yeah.
ones. I used to go to Arby's all the time, and I get the beefy cheddars, but they're these small ones. And I'm like, I didn't think about it. I'm like, okay, there's the beef cheddar, no problem. One day I went to Arby's like a year ago, and they gave me this like 3 times size amount of. I'm like, what? What happened here? They grew. I'm not complaining because it was the same price.
Well, a lot of their sandwiches are kind of a small, quote unquote.
No,
single.
the free beefy cheddar was like massive, and I'm like, I'm
they
not
never-
complaining.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's weird because they never had a big beef and cheddar when I went.
No,
Beef
I
and
had
cheddar-
that, and
Yeah.
Gators
Yeah.
might be 3 times as big, 3 times as messy. Those things you could not have a beef and cheddar in your car. You will have it 98% in your car everywhere.
Yeah,
can't eat it.
Arby's is one of
Hmm.
those things where, it's not a good idea to have it in the car.
If it wasn't a beef and cheddar,
Well,
it's fine.
mind
The
you-
cheddar gets everywhere.
Mind you,
Carl's
I've-
Jr. can be like that as well. It
Oh.
tends to be a messy burger.
Oh, now, what were you saying, Gators? Gators?
Yeah, so I had a beef and cheddar once. I didn't like it.
What? Only once?
Well, I
That
didn't
was
like
standard
it.
procedure
That's
for
also-
me. Beef and cheddar.
You know what it has?
Delicious.
You know what it has that I'm not fond of
What?
is
Arby's
that
sauce?
the onion bun.
Oh no, I didn't have a problem with the onion bun, but I just wanted beef and cheddar. But they also throw like this that red Arby's sauce on there,
Oh,
and
it sounds delicious.
well, but I didn't like how it went with the cheddar. It was like
You mean they put the? See, usually you don't get this. You get either if you're in the restaurant, you get the little squirters so you can get your own
Right.
sauce. They
yeah.
usually don't
Well-
put the sauce on for you
the one time I ordered
unless
beef
it
and-
was a drive up and they just did it.
the one time I ordered a beef and cheddar, it came with Arby's sauce on it, not horsey sauce, Arby's sauce.
Yeah,
Oh, I
and
don't
it
want a
was-
horsey on my freaking
and-
beef and cheddar. That wouldn't be right.
Oh, I love the horsey sauce.
Well, that's fine.
I like a little bit of both. The problem with the horsey sauce, it's really just too much mayo.
Yeah, they could go with a little less mayo and a little more horse.
Right. And the other
Wait,
thing
what?
about the beef and cheddar
I-
is that the
I don't
cheddar
even
is
know,
kind of an odd cheese. It's not a really good cheddar.
Oh, that looks good too.
I have to say one of the best videos I have ever seen on YouTube is a YouTube poop that messed with all the Arby's commercials. That right there wins the internet for me.
Okay.
Are you familiar with YouTube poops there, Brian?
Not really.
Oh, we got to introduce you to this genre. It's now.
I didn't realize. I would have never guessed that it was a whole genre. It's not just a guy.
No, it's a genre of YouTube videos that usually involves a lot of weird edits, quick edits, manipulating things. So it's a lot. It's almost like if you know what, I hate to use the term Gators edits because I that would imply that I influenced a YouTube genre of video. And I don't think they got the idea from me. But the whole really bad edit type of thing.
Yeah.
But they also do certain little inside jokes that are part of their genre, like editing words that start with an S to go forwards and backwards to make people say sus. Sus is a thing, and I don't think it means anything, but it's something that they do. But anyway, some of them are better than others. Some of them are just a lot of really bad edits that are kind of lame, but their own little thing. And some of them are really creative and really have you rolling on the floor laughing the first time you see them. And I think this is the best example I can find of how a YouTube poop can be the funniest damn thing you ever saw. So I'm just going to go ahead and share
Cue
this
the
one.
video.
And we'll get Brian's reaction to the Arby's YouTube poop. Here is.
So here it is. Arby's YPP. How would you feel about that?
I say what the Greeks would say.
Arby's, we have the bees.
Arby's only serves roast beef sandwiches.
Arby's, we have the
Roast beef sandwiches. This roast beef sandwich looks a lot like a sandwich. This one here looks like a sandwich.
Any beverage connoisseur will tell you that real Kentucky bourbon has alcohol. Arby's, we have alcohol. Now
that was a
beverage
line.
connoisseur will tell you that real Kentucky bourbon
Whiskey is made by magic.
Arby's, we have the
Magic.
No, there's just no such thing. Look at this bacon. Arby's, we have the mouthfeel. Arby's Italian meatball sub, aptly named the Italian, should come with meatballs. Well, Arby's messed up. Oopsie.
Maybe it was because the last time you went to Arby's, you ate your grandparents. Somehow. Because I have.
Goodness. Someone should say something. Arby's, we have the meat. Ah! What? Arby's, we have the meats. Yeets.
Now at Arby's, you can get
4 sandwiches.
they're two for $90.
What are those? Sandwiches?
Yeah, there's gonna be these big ass sandwiches.
Arby's, we have
Nothing.
Man, 0 out of 5. Who would go to a place that sold chicken for just $6? Why would we do that? That's bucks. That's not what I'm talking about. Wow. This is you.
Okay, I think we get the idea.
You don't want to watch more of this?
No, I mean,
What?
it's just so disconnected.
Arby's just became your new favorite sport.
You're not liking
New
this?
Now, I mean,
Saucy. It's not
some of
Ziki
the
sauce.
things are a little
I
bit
wanna say
amusing,
that was
okay?
some
A little
kind
bit
of
amusing.
sauce.
But the fact that they clipped all these little things together, they should just do
I wanna say
one
that
little
was
ad,
sauce. Trust Arby's on this.
you know,
one.
that's twisted around,
You're
and that's funny.
making a mistake.
When we have all these different things, and there seems to be like no point to it,
Well, they're all about Arby's.
other than Arby's.
Special occasion with Arby's Cajun chicken.
I mean, how many times can you spoof on Arby's in one thing? How long does this run for?
Those, they got the So Delicious soda. They got the mint chocolate squirrel shake.
Oh, I know,
For
but
years, you
this
eaten the
this
man
video,
the
how
way
long
Angus
does it
Beef
run?
wants you to. Well, now it's time to enjoy
5
Angus
minutes,
Beef the way the
37
man
seconds.
wants you to. Oh,
Really? It already feels like it's been an hour.
All right, all right. Well, we have to at least see the end because they gave it a really good ending. They did.
So they took all of their ideas for Arby's and threw it in one video that runs for 5 minutes and 47 seconds, whatever it said.
Not the Arby's.
News. Now you can stop.
Now, Brian, the reason it's so that's what they call it a YouTube poop. It's so disjointed and everywhere else. It looks like someone just get right out.
Yeah. Okay, I get that aspect of it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's creative, but it just, you know, it's the typical Saturday Night Live skit. They do this skit that takes 30 seconds or less, but then they have to beat it to death, and it goes on for 5 hours.
Oh, you mean we're talking? So we're talking about land sharks now.
No, this is Brian. Right, this is called the ADD generation. They
Okay,
have
actually,
to
Land
have
Shark
things-
is. Sorry.
I
I'm
said
sorry.
this is the ADD generation. they have to have it beaten down every 5. That's just how YouTube poops are. That's not only that. That's called TikTok. That's called. Oh God, everything else does the same thing. It's just it's a genre. It's a full genre.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah.
Brian does not approve of the YouTube poops.
Well,
He's-
what about the YouTube shorts? YouTube
not when they
shorts
go
are
too
just
far.
as disjointed.
You know, I would watch, 30 seconds or maybe a minute,
Yeah,
and then I would
that's
be
what most
done.
people
I
do.
would stop. Right?
That's what people do. They watch.
In
30
fact, like
seconds of
Facebook
it.
has a lot of videos that tell you how to make something, or they're
Uh-huh.
going to do something unusual, and you kind of go, "Oh, that might be fun," and you watch it for about 30 seconds. You kind of go, "Can you make this thing any longer?" And of course, the way they present the videos on YouTube, on Facebook, it's like they don't give you how long it runs.
Well, YouTube videos on how to make things are made from like video farming type of places that are
Oh, sure.
basically generating cash for they're
Sure.
But the big thing is that content creators actually have been pressed to make longer videos. Because, like, for example, one of the channels that I follow is How to Drink, which is a
Do
guy
you need
named...
help with that, Gators?
well, no, it's a show on how... It's a show on how to make mixed drinks, not how to drink the mixed drinks.
I was
but how
about to
to
say,
make
do you
the
need
drinks
do you
that-
really need help with that? I don't know.
Glug, 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 glug. Okay, done.
I mean,
Next
Step
video.
one,
I've listened to your
Put a
Saturday
liquid
night
in your
shows. I don't
mouth.
think you need help with that.
step two, go.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, yeah, it was a short video. It was no, but the point is so it's a guy named Greg out of Jersey that started a YouTube channel, and he's really grown into being a content creator and does some, does some creative stuff. But his original videos were like little, like 5-minute videos, maybe at most, on how to make a certain drink, and he might talk about the drink. They were kind of short how-to videos. More recently, his videos are like 15 minutes to a half hour each, and has a lot of themes to it and a lot of fluff in it. And some people, and I mean, I'm not trying to be critical or negative about them, actually.
No, I mean, it's the way it is.
I still watch
I
his
noticed
channel.
a lot of videos.
Well, let me
You
finish.
talk about different topics, and they go 15, 20 minutes. Like, I don't really have that much time.
But sometimes he gets comments or complaints asking, why can't you make videos like you used to make? And he's not talked a lot about that, but he has referenced it in his videos, and his comment is, I can't do that anymore for reasons, and he doesn't go into it. But if you look into it, the reason is that there was a point in time where YouTube changed their algorithm, and their algorithm is what determines what videos are presented for people to click on, and that also determines how much traffic is driven to your video. And then and what really changed in the algorithm was when YouTube brought the amount of time people watch a video into the algorithm rather than whether or not they clicked on it. And so that has resulted in content creators needing to make longer videos to get higher view times, to get in the algorithm more, and to get more clicks and more view time.
Now, only once in a while you'll see a guy that has a video that he'll go, and it'll be in his comment section. The intro is the first 12 seconds. Then part 1 is this, part 2 is this, part 3 is this. So he sets, or chapters. As
yeah,
it were.
and even in the line,
and
they
that's
have the
fine. Then you
chapters,
could go, oh, okay. So he said that at 2:53 he's going to screw on his filter to his camera. That's either interesting or it's boring.
I hope
So
it's
you
the
can
fish
either
islands,
go
'cause
for that.
Honestly, that's
But-
the best one.
But it's
What's
funny. Go ahead.
I said I hope it's the fish islands because that's the best one.
Well, this is a filter, not a lens.
Now Sparky,
And your typical fisheye lenses can't accept filters.
now Sparky writes in, YouTube algorithm sucks. I don't see my fave creators much anymore unless I directly search for them. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that have changed, and change sucks, especially if it makes an experience negative.
Well,
towards you.
let's put it this way. YouTube is going to push their monetized channels, right?
Right. And that's the thing, is that there was a lot of great content that was based on short things, and they're kind of edged out. And well, what's really frustrating is there's one channel I like to watch on YouTube a bit, and I've talked about this channel some. Let me see, I forget the name of it, so just let me make sure I get this right. It is called no, not Ambiguous Amphibian. That's not the one. What's it's a baking channel. I'm trying to find it right now though, but I can't. It should be near the top because I followed it more
Is
recently.
it the two fat ladies? Because I used to watch that on PBS.
The two fat ladies?
Yeah, it was a show on PBS.
Oh, okay.
It was a British show. It was kind of cool. It was a really good show.
No, that's not the one.
Oh.
I'm trying to. I can't. Oh, here it is. How to Cook That is the name of the channel.
Oh.
And the thing is that she does a lot of videos that disprove viral videos. Like I don't know if you ever seen like the viral video of someone showing how you can use a hair dryer to make a black banana yellow again, and really the only way she was able to recreate that was by taking a perfectly fine banana and putting like black marker marks on it, and then the heat would kind of like melt the marker off of it. But she does a lot of disproving the viral videos. And what frustrates her the most is that the videos that she's disproving get way more clicks and way more views and generate way more cash than her channel does, being out there doing legit things and showing the reality. And that's kind of that kind of sums up the world of content creation on the internet these days. Is that the way to generate cash is to be deceptive and be evil.
Right.
And
yeah,
not that
eating Tide Pods.
Well, anyone could do that, but YouTube will ban you for that, rightfully so.
Well, they didn't initially.
So this is a PBS show you were talking about.
Yeah, it's PBS. The Two Fat
Okay.
Ladies. I used to watch them like religiously every week. They were really good. And what was really neat about it was they would get a call, and they'd go to these like really large areas, and they'd sit there and cook for like a battalion or other, like a bunch of people in the kitchen. So they'd cook a lot of food, and it was a really neat show. And they'd show all the stuff they cook. It was a really cool show. It's a British show. So
Huh. It had 4
Yeah.
seasons from 96 to 99.
yeah,
Huh.
one of them
What's
died,
it
which is
called?
sad. But you know.
Yeah, and it was
What's it
was
called?
The Two Fat Ladies. Yeah.
And it was a
Oh,
British
that
show.
was the name. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was
yeah.
a- it was
Well, it's Two Fat Ladies, but the name was Two Fat Ladies.
It was the name
Yeah.
and the description.
Yeah, and they would always ride to their location with a motorcycle and a sidecar.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was there any murdering involved? Because the Brits love murder.
No murdering in the food. No,
Yeah,
they
Brian,
didn't
what's
like
wrong with
spike
you,
the food
man?
and kill a whole battalion. I mean, wasn't
Not that kind of cooking show.
no, but it was a cool show.
But
Of course, some British cuisine could murder you.
Well, you know what? It was one of those. It was one of those shows. You know, on Saturday afternoons on PBS, there's nothing on but cooking shows or
Yeah.
Bob Vila or
Sure.
something else. You know, it was one of those.
Right.
yeah.
Or
Norm.
this old. It was this old house or
the old Yankee Workshop or the new Yankee Workshop or the new old
Or
Yankee.
ask this old house.
Or ask this old. Yeah.
I like the new Yankee Workshop with Norm Abrams.
Norm
That show was
Abrams.
cool.
Yes, Norm.
Yeah.
Gotta
Yeah, I
like
remember Norm Abrams. They used to make us watch that in Woodshop.
Yeah.
We'd watch that in Woodshop, and we'd watch
Oh.
what was Home Time was the name of the show. I think it was. I think it was Home Time with with the couple that I always wondered if they were married, but they weren't. They were cool too.
They were, but they weren't. Or
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Norm Abrams, he was cool.
Yeah. So, anyways, getting back to the topic that we
Oh.
strayed very far from.
I
So,
think I watched that one.
so I bought the third receiver, and I talked about that last.
Oh, that's
week.
right.
Yeah.
The 4050 or
And-
the 4055 or
The
40...
4050A.
Hey, I was close on the number.
You-
I'm impressed.
Yeah, no, yeah, you had
at
that.
that.
You had that. You're pretty much dead on there.
I was
And,
paying attention at some point during the last couple streams.
So anyways, I gotta tell you, I am having more fun with this than I thought I was going to. Now
Number 3 has arrived. Yes, Sparky.
and here's the thing. This one has a completely dead channel on the power amp. But I'm actually not caring all that much about that right now because I've decided I really don't want to just rip out the turntable and mount this under a cabinet. I'd like to restore this thing to its former glory. The thing is so I've set it up in my living room. The thing is I already have a stereo set up in the living room, so I don't need to set up another set of speakers of this. So I've set this up in the living room, and I'm running the line output into an auxiliary input on my home theater system, and the line output works perfectly fine on this. The blown channel, it does not affect the line level output. So I would like to restore it and have it be a working amplifier again, but I don't need to do that to have fun with it. So I think go ahead.
I have a small question. Do you have you have a turntable on your home theater system in your living room, right?
Yeah, I do, but it's a crappy turntable. And so this turntable.
So wait a minute, the turntable on this Fisher is going to be better.
It's similar. The turntable in this Fisher is similar to the turntable that I am running in the living room.
So,
mind you, my
why-
good turntables are in this room.
Yeah, why don't you have a good turntable upstairs in the living room
Downstairs in the living
or
room.
downstairs in the living room?
Well, because downstairs I put on music more for background stuff, and I care more about functionality. So I want something that
So functionality like one of the channel doesn't work.
well, that's only the power amp. I'm running the line output, so that functionality isn't impacting me. But functionality like
So yeah. Okay.
functionality like a 3
So the
or
preamp works, both channels.
right. Functionality as in my good turntables are only
So
two.
here's what
well,
you do,
yeah,
right?
I
So all your
guess,
preamps work fine.
Mhm.
Patch the outputs of that into the Macintosh amps that you want.
Yes, you need some Macintosh amps. Did you buy those yet?
That's an amazing idea that anyone that listened to me describe how I was doing that would have already understood.
Well, Gators, do you have Macintoshes upstairs or downstairs?
I don't have Macintosh. I can't afford those.
They're not on eBay for Black Friday sales or anything.
Macintoshes don't go on sale.
What?
So you haven't found one at a thrift store yet.
Not a Macintosh. No, those hold their
Some
value.
old lady croaked.
I have
Got
never.
Macintoshes, and the family doesn't know what they are, so they just bring
Yeah,
them to
you
a
know
thrift
how
store.
I
those
have
wouldn't have hit
never encountered a Macintosh in
I
the
guarantee
wild.
you, if those went to a thrift store, they wouldn't hit the floors. They'd be gone before that. They'd say, yeah, I'm taking these. I got
That's-
first dibs by.
Right.
That's a win the lottery type of scenario. Not to say that it never happens, but I
Right.
doubt it's going to happen to me. But
Right.
But if I saw one, I'd know what it was and I'd grab it. But
But Johnny, you would deserve it.
I don't know. People might say I don't.
What?
Eh,
What kind of assholes are they?
I don't know. But anyways, so probably the ones that listen to the show and hear me being a dick to everyone. But moving right along. So
Hey, Johnny's not a dick. He needs a Macintosh.
shut the fuck up. But
What?
Wait, you had
See,
Max. You had
that
Max
was
down
funny
basement.
because I was intentionally being a dick
Being a
for
dick.
the joke.
That's right. I should have recognized that right away.
Oh, it's funny because
Should
I
I?
had
So
to
should I
explain it.
take back that you don't take it back and say you don't deserve a Macintosh?
I don't care. That ain't gonna change whether or not I end up with one. But so anyways, I like to have something that is at least a 3-speed turntable in the living room, because my good turntables are only 2-speed, so I can't play 78s on them. But you know, it might be nice to throw on a small stack of 78s. And I also like something that is a changer that can stack, because even though stacking is bad for records, I do like stacking my cheap 45s that, you know, I don't really care if they get a little scuffed stacking. They're 50-cent dollar 45s that I bought to have a little fun with. I want to have fun with my stuff.
Well,
So-
aren't the anti-stackers just a little anal?
Well, I'm used to be anti-stacker, and I still understand and have
think-
those opinions.
But I mean,
that if you really care about the 45,
damaging a record because it was stacked is kind of like
Well,
worst case scenario. I'm about ready to get hit by a meteor.
you know what? I see. Okay, I see. If my record was worth a lot of money and I just want to play this on really good equipment, so it's not going to mess it up. Yeah, I would put that on a stacker.
right.
Dollar bin specials. Go for
by
it.
the way,
Have fun,
by the
you
way,
know?
since we
Yeah.
are absolutely on the topic,
Mhm.
this morning before I woke up, I had this dream that I was in a building on the 6th floor, and it was a stone building, and right next to it was another stone building,
Mhm.
6 floors tall, and suddenly the building next to us collapsed.
Oh, cool.
And we were in this room on the 6th floor, and we were just kind of looking at it like, holy shit, what just happened?
Oh.
And we didn't do anything.
Huh.
And then suddenly our building kind of slid down vertically, essentially the equivalent of one floor.
Ooh.
Oh.
Like one of the lower floors collapsed, but everything else was intact.
Nobody needs the
Very
third
bizarre.
floor, Brian. The
Say
third
again?
floor is just suggested.
Oh, that was the disappearing 13th floor, is what that
Oh.
was. That was the.
No, but I was below the 13th floor, so that wasn't that.
Oh.
Maybe there's some other lucky number.
That could be.
I hope you jump to the other building, so if that one collapsed, you'd be fine.
No, at that point I woke up. I kind of go,
Oh.
this is a bizarre dream.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know how I equate the stacking of records to a building collapse. No idea. It just
I dream in
kind
color, by
of
the
popped
way,
in there randomly.
Sparky. So
Well, it's a controlled drop if you're doing a controlled detonations to drop the. I don't know.
Well, there was no explosion.
I have no idea,
involved, it
so
just
I'm
collapsed.
gonna move on past this and continue talking about the receiver. So yeah.
Well,
So
this is the same topic. The
the-
receiver, building collapse, same thing.
yeah. Well,
Stacking records.
So the problem is that when I opened up the box, the dust cover was intact. The hinges were the screws holding in the hinges were ripped out of the particle board, and the tone arm had been detached from its pivot because the guy did not secure the tone arm firmly in place, so it was able to just swing wildly back and forth. And not that I had any plans to use the stylus that was in there, but the stylus that was in there was destroyed. But now Sparky wants to know if your dream was in color.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gators, I
So-
have a question for you, and
go
this
ahead,
goes back-
Mars.
This is on topic.
Okay.
We had a poll last week.
Yeah.
How many cracks were in the dust cover?
0.
Wow! I think we all lost.
Yeah. No, I,
Wow!
I
But
mean, the-
it did have a broken hinge.
so the tone arm actually was detached from the main
well,
unit. Is that
and
correct?
I thought it was like ripped off cracked plastic, but as I investigated further, I found that basically there are 2 screws that
Yeah.
that screw in and have points that come out that rest in holes that rest it to have the up-down pivot point. And one of the screws actually unscrewed itself. And so the tone arm was just kind of flailing around undamaged, although it damaged the needle to the point that the plastic parts on the side of the needle were inside of the receiver and
like the
fell
little
out. when
orangey thing. Well, okay, I had cheaper.
Oh, so you had to
cheaper
dig
cut the
through the
orange part
thing to
out.
find your screws.
No, well, I dug through the box to find the screws. The plastic pieces that came off of the stylus were actually inside the receiver. They
Right.
probably slid in underneath the turntable because
So was anything actually broken? So in other words, could you
No.
just screw the thing back together and you're good?
I can screw the thing back together, and I'm kind of good. Although the problem is I don't know how the spring was on there, because there is a spring in that tone arm that's
But
supposed
don't you
to.
have 2 other samples you can go to see how it worked?
Those 2 don't have turntables.
Oh, okay, all right. Now, so is this add-on turntable? Is that like a BSR?
It is a BSR. I've not found a picture of an identical model or a service guide for this particular model. I believe the model is a C198, although this turntable doesn't say on it it's a C198, but a little bit of investigating, I found someone else referring to this model with a different problem and called it a C198, but I can't find any literature about the C198. Now, the thing is it's pretty simple in that there is a spring that has like the curves on either side that attach to little holes that would accept them. But the problem is that the 2 places that the spring was and the spring was still attached to the tone arm and to the pivot point. But when I put the tone arm back together, the spring has no tension to it, or barely any tension to it, And so I don't know if the spring was supposed to be wrapped around something that would pull more tension, and there's nothing that immediately jumps out as, oh, here's where the spring goes so that it will have tension. So I can't figure out how the spring was meant to provide tension to the
Right.
tone arm. And I posted a
Right.
picture of, there is a Facebook group called BSR Turntable Repair. I posted a picture
Oh.
of this tone arm with the spring in it to the BSR Turntable Repair Facebook group. No one has responded with any answer how to fix this damn thing. So I'm not all that impressed with the BSR Turntable Repair Facebook group. But then again, I only posted it
But how many
yesterday.
people are in that group, roughly? Do you know?
That's a good question. I probably need to give that some time to stew. Actually, it's just called BSR Turntables. 925 members.
Wow, you would think that somebody would.
You would think, but you know.
Oh, because I'm in some group that people are posting shit all the time. I mean, just
Well, I think the
if you look away, then there's another post.
Sir Mars writes in his BSR mean bullshit receiver. No, BSR
course.
is the turntable manufacturer, not the. I don't know that they made receivers, but that is a good question. What does BSR stand for?
British standard.
Probably they are made in England because all the platters say made in Great Britain.
Oh, maybe it means Bullock Standard something.
Birmingham Sound Reproducers.
Oh, I was way off.
Yeah, me too. But but BSR and Gerard were kind of like the two like mediocre
I
junk
had a
turntable
Gerard.
manufacturers.
Yeah.
They came with the same 2-screw standard that would let them fit in a plinth or let them fit
You know,
on top of a receiver.
when you look for BSR in Wikipedia,
yeah.
you get /R.
Oh, well, Wikipedia has an entry that for Birmingham Sound Reproducers. So
Yeah, I know.
gotta-
That's on the
oh,
list.
you
But
found it.
also, Basra International Airport. Who knew, right? And then, here's another good one. Vasai Road Railway Station. That's
Okay.
in Mumbai, India.
I used to have a turntable
Reverse
that you put
scan,
the record on it, and it
bit
went
scan
round and round.
reverse. Bit scan reverse. That's a good one.
Bits.
Oh.
Okay. Mars, you were
That's
saying?
a x86.
I just said
instruction.
I just had a turntable that had the thing that you put the record on it, went roundy, and you put the tone arm on it, and it played music.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how most of
It
them.
was from my Lucky Gold. It was from my Gold Star tape player record stereo thingy.
So BSR went defunct in 1985.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, BSR.
I just
30 years
clicked
too
on it,
late.
and that came up right
No.
there. Like, whoa.
No. Now Sparky's saying, "Be right back. Need more wood." Wood.
Oh,
Wood.
so he's watching Oak Island,
Yeah.
where they're
Wood.
finding lots of wood.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna ignore that and continue.
Yeah.
It's now the thing is that to be fair,
Oh,
I think most of what's being done by people that are repairing BSR turntables these days are dealing with the basically disassembling, cleaning, relubricating, and putting them together to get the platter spinning
Were those
again.
belt driven?
No, they were idler wheel.
Because I know the one I had had a belt on it. That's why it stopped doing the turny. The belt broke.
Now these are these typically are idler wheel, which
well.
sucks, but you
Yeah,
know,
right.
Are
they
belts
got the
better?
job done.
didn't want to say anything. Yeah.
Are belts
Yeah.
better?
Oh yeah, well belt isolates the motor noise from the platter,
Oh yeah, I had no motor noise. It was
where-
kind of neat. It was very quiet.
whereas an idler wheel does not do a good job of isolating the motor noise.
I did used to put my Legos in the middle of it and turn it on full blast to watch it fly around. It was pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised at how many people are fans of the BSR turntables these days. It's like, those are garbage, right? Like, like in the 90s, you couldn't give those away. Like,
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
but
they
the
worked in
90s
the
were kind of
90s.
like, we're done with records. We're all the CDs and stuff like that. And then the people realized they are kind of.
So people were tossing junk turntables and good turntables. So you take the good turntable and not take. Whereas now, I I think really the only turntables that are being manufactured right now are the high-end expensive stuff that you're looking at, like $300 for the lowest end of those. Like I think for $300 you can get a U-turn Orbit, and that has some limitations, but it's not bad for a starter belt-driven turntable that'll make some nice sounds. And then you have like the garbage stuff like the Crosley Cruisers and the modern turntables that they're stamping the name Victrola on these days, which is an insult to the term.
The Audio-Technica one that looks kind of neat.
Well, that goes into, you're probably paying like what the Audio-Technica is, at least $500, right?
I think the one I saw was like $150.
Huh. I don't know. I feel I don't know. I'll have to look more into that.
That might be a USB powered one. I'm not sure. I didn't look at the whole thing, but
Okay.
I saw it. I was like,
so there is a wide range of product out there these days.
Yeah.
But anyways, the point is that the platter was seized up on this, but I took the Jesus clip off of it without having to shout the Lord's name in vain. That's why they call those Jesus clips, right? Because usually you pry it with the screwdriver, go ping right across the room, and you go Jesus, and
The retaining clips, in other words.
yeah. I think they actually call them E clips, even though they look more like C's than E's.
Did the cats bring it back for you? Did you teach your cats to fetch yet?
No, actually, I bought a supply of various sizes of E clips off of Amazon that are going to get delivered tomorrow. But I did not ping one of them across the room. But I think someone else pinged one of them across the room, because after I took the platter off, I found that the cam was missing a clip. So it was, gravity will hold these things in place. You really don't need all the clips because there's not anything that's going to really force something up.
Oh, that keeps the platter thingy on top of the thingy?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, there's a clip that holds the platter on top. You take that out, and then you have clips that hold the motor coming from underneath that has the shaft coming up. There's a clip that holds the idler wheel into its spot.
Why do you
There's a
screw
clip,
those things in? Why do you clip them?
and then there's clips that hold the cam in there, which is what has the gears on it, so that when the needle gets to the end of the record, it catches that and rotates that around, which moves all the mechanisms that will lift and return the arm. And so basically all these parts have 40-year-old dried up oil, greases, and lubricants on them. So you really just need to take these things apart, clean them up with a toothbrush and rubbing alcohol and Q-tips, and then get new grease, new oil, and just re-lubricate all these parts and put it back together. And it should work as good as it ever did. If assuming that your tone arm hasn't been damaged. And so I think most BSR repairs these days are not involving repairing the tone arms. And so it's a little...
And by the way, Garrard turntables,
yeah,
they're still in business.
Huh.
Yeah.
They made an interesting turntable called the Garrard Zero that actually had two arms that would keep the needle angle precise without that curve of error. So, but they're idler wheel. So it's like, who really cares that the needle angle is precise when you've got all that motor noise in the background? But yeah, I'm surprised no one else made that type of a tone arm though.
A Garrardo?
A Garrard Zero.
Oh.
But yeah, so anyways, that's what I'm doing with that receiver. I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to keep it in the living room for now with the line out connected. And I got to say, I had like zero interest in the cassette player in this thing when I picked it up.
Sure.
Because I really don't I don't collect cassettes. I've never been interested in cassettes beyond anything for practical use.
I saw my Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet cassette. Does that count?
Everyone had that one.
Yes, they did, but they still have it. That's the question.
I'm surprised that those aren't as abundant as copies of Frampton Comes Alive in the dollar bin for
You know
vinyl.
what? I have no problem having that tape. That was a good tape.
That everyone and their mother and their aunt bought that tape.
Yeah, it's probably gas stations. But how many people still have it? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, I I don't know. I don't know because I know my aunt had it, my mom had it, my first grade teacher had it, or was that my second grade teacher?
They probably both had it, honestly.
The kid with the boom box on the school bus had it.
Well, yeah.
That was along with Wham! Make It Big. That was another cassette. Everyone
You
had.
know,
Heck, Brian probably had Bon Jovi on cassette.
when you're on the bus,
I've never owned Bon Jovi.
honestly, when you're on the bus, you have to play. We're halfway there. We're living on a prayer.
Oh yeah.
Seriously.
Sparky writes in back, the light bulb in the woodshed blew out. I had to replace that before I could get wood. Wood.
Why you need a light bulb for? I don't use those.
So he could see his wood.
Oh, okay.
Stumble around in the dark trying to find your wood? That's no
You really
fun.
need to find that.
You
Should be easy to find.
Well, it depends how big your wood is. Sometimes you need a light to see where your wood is.
Okay.
Sparky points out it's dark out. Now, I got to tell you, people who burn wood for heat, they know about wood. Because I remember Gothard's dad was once talking about, this here is this type of wood. This is good to warm things up in the morning, and this is good for like a warmer day that you only need a little bit. This doesn't burn. And this here birch, this will burn real hot. You got to want to put that in there when it gets really cold, and that's so yeah. I mean, there is some. It's interesting. That
they live in Maine. They know a little bit about wood. I'm just saying.
Well,
it's probably like a prerequisite to anything.
Well, it's not just that because not every. I mean, they actually built their house with a wood burning furnace being the primary source of heat for that house. Like most people in the basement have some kind of a gas or oil furnace in there. No, they had a furnace in there that had a door you open up, you threw wood in there, you started a fire. And so once it got to a certain point in winter, you had to keep, poplar. So maple, ash, oak, poplar is only good for starter wood. So
my sister in Virginia has a wood stove that she uses to heat the whole house. They have a 3-story, but then they have the basement, so that's a fourth, and they run everything through that, and it goes pretty good. I mean, has some pretty good heat for that thing.
Oh yeah, no, it works good. It's just that it's you have to maintain a fire to keep your house heated, and that's what works for them. And wood isn't. I mean, wood also costs something, and wood goes up and down. And so I don't. There are some winters that they probably would have been better off with something other. But
they live in Maine. They're surrounded by freaking trees.
Yeah,
I think they're fine, right?
Now, Sparky points out wood heat does heat you to the bone. So, it worked good. I just remember the only problem I had with the wood heat was that when it got to be that time of the year where it's getting cold sometimes and getting warm other times, then you didn't, the mornings would be really cold. But the days wouldn't be, so they wouldn't maintain a fire that would last through the night. So there were some mornings I'd wake up in that house, it'd be like so cold.
See, Sparky's smart.
God, it's so cold.
Sparky's very smart. He cleans up the side of the road and heats his house. So
nice.
Honestly,
there you go.
He's a hunter-gatherer that doesn't have to hunt.
So Sparky's a bit off the beaten path, I take it.
Yeah.
I've never known much about Sparky, and I'm not going to start asking personal questions. Although now I'm kind of like, wait, are you in Maine?
Well, we do know he has McDonald's close to him.
He has McDonald's close to. Well, probably not.
I mean, that's how he listened to the show that one day. McDonald's.
Well, Maine has McDonald's, but I where I lived in Maine, the closest fast food restaurant was a Wendy's, and it was about like half-hour drive to get there. Oh, he's in PA. Oh, okay. Oh, swing state.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Okay. Now, no, I'm not going to start asking what region of Pennsylvania, but I will be on Wednesday driving to northeastern Pennsylvania.
No.
So I guess the question is am I going to be passing Sparky's exit anywhere?
So, okay,
Are you going to visit your old school
in northeastern Pennsylvania?
Isn't that where it is?
No.
I thought you.
Oh, you
Your
mean my
college?
My college
Yeah.
was not northern Pennsylvania. My college is closer to Hershey.
Yeah, I've been to Hershey.
Which is sort of like center, right?
Yeah. Well, Central Eastern. Sparky writes in, not a swing state anymore. It turned blue. Sad. I don't think that's a very solid blue, though. I really
it's
don't.
not.
That's not. It ain't Massachusetts. Certainly. Well, I mean.
Well, or Taxachusetts, as it has been called.
Now, Sparky writes in, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh control the state. Well, I mean that's true of a lot
Well,
of
the cities, yeah. I mean, in fact, you look at Denver. I mean, Colorado, and
I think
the
Mars is
only
gonna
real
get a
city
shower
there is
now.
Denver. It has one deal, which is blue, and then the rest of it's red.
Well, this is a good transition into what's been twirling around in my mind lately.
What has been twirling in your mind?
Well, I think I could make a statement here that not everyone's going to agree with, but I don't think this is one of those shocking partisan things or whatever. But it certainly flirts with partisan topics. I'm going to try to gloss by them.
Go
I'm going
for
to
it.
ask you to let me
Just
set this
rip
up
it out
without-
there.
Okay.
We already lost Dune before, anyway.
Well, well, no. I mean, certainly most people have their concerns about the topic of elections. Certainly, there's a lot to unpack there and a lot of things there. Certainly, there are people that are concerned that there are elements of fraud that exists in elections that to the point where people are suspicious of the results of elections, and they're And I gotta tell you, for as much as I have to say, I certainly can understand the anger one would feel if they honestly believe that the election was fraudulent, because then that calls into question, what does any of this mean? Where is our representation? Is there the amount of fraud that changed the outcome? I don't have any evidence one way or the other in front of me. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm
anyone's-
not an investigator either.
But that's.
So
but
what-
that's.
what is your-
But
what is your
that's
point?
not the that. But the point.
What is your point? Where are you going?
Well, let me get there. So I mean, and then on the other side of that, there's the whole concern of access to the vote and policies obstructing or making it difficult for people to vote. And there are people that point out to the real problems of that this has when it comes to voter turnout, and then there's people that point out that, well, it really comes down to personal responsibility, and everyone can just put the effort and do it. And other people point out, well, and I think what it comes down to, this is what really bothers me when I start unpacking all these stuff, and I always land on this. And what I come down to is that it
Yeah,
bothers me that elections are not decided by the people, but elections are decided by the turnout. And the turnout is something that can be influenced, which, is that really the will of the people? And that is what really bothers me.
You mean if you're doing effective ads and that'll bring more people out to vote for you, that's a problem?
Well, it's not as simple as that. If you boil it down to one simple thing, there's not a problem with a simple thing. The problem is that turnouts and what crowds turn out, different things affect that, different things impact that. And that means that results can change based on those factors, when really the result should be what the majority of all people want, not what crowd you were able to round up. Now Sparky is
Okay,
gonna...
in the 80s, just before Thanksgiving, there was a massive snowstorm in Denver, and the mayor took the blame for that problem because the snowplows weren't ready, and rather than plowing things up, they got a cake of ice on all the roads
Okay.
that lasted for weeks.
Right.
And next election, which would have been, just about a year later, the guy got booted out of office.
Okay.
And that was essentially on one issue. He lost his job.
Well-
But is that a turnout
Now-
problem?
Now, well, you're talking about one specific example that I don't have all the facts in front of me. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean that is the basic fact.
So Sparky writes in, the turnout are the people. And I think that goes to, and I understand that the conflicting argument that I expect to come right back at me from that is, well, if someone couldn't be bothered to go to the effort to vote, I don't want their voice in there. Which implies that people who don't vote are uninformed and people who vote are informed. But I think people are going to take issue with that, because I think that people would point out that a lot of voters are uninformed, and everyone seems to think that people that don't vote their way are uninformed. But but you get what I'm saying. I think we should have compulsory voting in this country,
Like Italy.
like many countries.
I was just pointing out one example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Australia.
And what do you do? What do you do if a person doesn't vote?
Well, I would look at what other countries do. I think most of them have fines or penalties like that. I wouldn't put anyone in jail for it, but I would. But the big thing about it isn't, well, what if someone breaks it? The big thing is changing our mentality as a country about voting, instead of voting being a voluntary thing to do to being a thing that's your duty to do. And so if it is compulsory,
Well, okay, so
you're going to have
so
a
let's back off a little bit.
Okay.
This friend of mine, this is a pal from high school. When he became eligible to vote, he would not register because at that time, if you're going to get called on a jury, it's because you're registered to vote. So he wouldn't register to vote because he didn't want to be on a jury.
Well, see, if it's not an option, you just I mean, it's not an option to register to be a taxpayer. You know,
Well, but that's a different story. I mean,
well, not really, not for what I'm suggesting. You know, I'm suggesting that it shouldn't be an opt-in thing that you register for. It should be something that, as a citizen, you're automatically.
well, look at how
registered
many
and
states
required to do.
have quote unquote motor voter laws. So if you register a vehicle, you have the opportunity to register to vote at the same time.
Right, and I think that's good. I think ease of access to voting is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that there are ways that.
But now some would suggest that there should be some type of qualification to voting other than age.
All right, let's read Sparky's latest.
Yeah.
So Johnny is saying everyone should vote. I agree with that. Now, and I get that Sparky's probably going to disagree that everyone should be forced to vote. So there's some. I'm not saying he's saying that, but I'm guessing the three dots are going that way. But I think, I'm not suggesting we force anyone at gunpoint to vote, but I am suggesting that it should be a requirement, and we should change the mentality in this country that it's a duty, it's an obligation. Not it's if you feel like it, go ahead and cast a vote. We all need to be participating in this, and this lax attitude towards it. Now, I mean, look at how much that changes elections. Both Trump and Biden increased voter turnout from previous elections. Both of them did that.
Sure.
And
they worked harder.
Yeah, well, I don't. Is it that they worked harder, or they angered more people, or both of that?
But okay, but and
certainly Trump understood that elections are decided by turnout, and Trump understood how you can utilize that. I will give him credit for that, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that that's a bad thing in our system, not a bad thing that someone did that, because it is important to increase turnout. So, he gets credit for me for that, but I think that we should.
Well, he's talking to his audience and tells them. I
mean, that's how he
vote.
He blindsided Hillary in Wisconsin and Michigan, because he drove out more voters there to his side than anyone expected to turn out.
Effective campaigning.
Right. No, he got that, but. I think there's a lot of problems with our current election systems, and I think a big part of the problem is that the outcome can be manipulated by things that manipulate the turnout. For example, here's an example of something unintentional, and I'm not saying this is completely a problem, but this is just an example of something that irked me.
Go for it.
So, one of the elections in Maine for governor, went to the Republican by plurality, which, first of all, that bothers me when someone wins by plurality if there is a spoiler that split the other side, because that says to me that, you know, if you had something like ranked choice or a runoff, that guy might not have won. You know,
I mean, that's still a
majority.
fairly new concept, and what, 3 places do it?
Maine being one of them, although they can't do it for the governor race because that would require amending the Constitution. But one of the things that played a role in that election was one of the ballot initiatives. And there was a ballot initiative that was brought onto the ballot that had something to do with bear trap baiting. And it was...
So this outside issue affected the governor's race?
Yes, because...
And how did that happen?
Because more people cared about that ballot initiative than the governor's
race. That just brought them to the poll.
So that brought more conservative voters out to the poll to vote down this bear trap issue,
right.
Which resulted in more votes coming for the Republican candidate. And it's like I'm saying, I'm not saying that that's foul. I'm not crying foul on that. I'm just saying that that's something to think about, that the turnout of an election can be impacted by another factor because of our system.
So here's a way to
not
fix
requiring
that problem. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You have a separate election for, say, the governor and these ballot initiatives.
So now we're going to ask people to come out to the polls multiple times and inconvenience them
wouldn't
further?
That be rough? Wouldn't that be rough?
It's rough getting people to the polls once.
It fixes that problem that you just equated.
That's
fixes it.
That fixes that one example. I think the bigger picture is that elections are determined by turnout, which is a manipulative
here's what I would do.
Thing.
Here's what I would do.
Okay.
I would separate them, as I suggested before.
Okay. All right.
But for a measure to pass, rather than yes versus no, it should be you have to have so many yeses versus the number of eligible voters. In other words, if you don't show up, it's automatically a no.
Oh. Ooh.
Because you know what? Like in California, we always have a half a dozen to a dozen initiatives, and I vote no on all of them.
But any question can be rephrased to the opposite.
I understand that, but you fix that. You say a yes vote means that you're making a change to something. I don't care how you phrase it.
So you want to make the threshold of change difficult than maintaining the status quo?
No, if you care about it, you fucking vote.
But that makes the change more difficult than the status quo.
Well, it should be difficult.
Now, Sparky saying, yes, the wording means a lot. Now, at least I'm not in love with your idea, but I see.
I was
some
throwing
good
it out
thoughts
there for discussion. That's all.
No, it's that is a good thought. I mean, now, what do you think of compulsory voting? Are you for it? Are you against it?
Not really. No.
Not really.
If a person doesn't give a shit, he doesn't give a shit. I don't think he needs to be penalized for it, whether it's fine or jail or execution.
I'm not executing no one. I don't believe in the death penalty. So,
and that was thrown in there just a joke.
We're not treating dandruff with decapitation here, but
dandruff.
Treating dandruff with the decapitation, going by stronger means than necessary.
Oh, I see. I see.
I was borrowing a phrase from Frank Zappa.
All right, so let's. Oh, I missed that one. That's good. Yeah. So let's do another thing. It's getting more and more popular that in each judicial district that now you're voting for judges.
Mm-hmm.
Judges rarely get in the news other than the guy that fucked something up immensely. So so typically you go into the poll, and it's usually affirmed that you want this judge to stay.
Okay.
You don't want to kick his ass out. which is kind of a weird way to elect them, right? But the other thing is that so you got 8 guys on the list you to vote for or vote against, and the question is, I don't know a damn thing about these guys. Do I vote for them
So
or vote against them?
So I think the problem you're addressing is if voting is compulsory and you don't know everything that's on the ballot and you don't have the time to look up everything that's on the ballot, then people are filling in things that they don't understand. And that's where I think the act of voting and having the option to opt out of each question gives you the point is that you still have to make the effort to vote. But if you don't know something, just vote none of the above on it. But at least then people will vote for what they know and what they think, and they'll opt out of what they don't.
Propositions are yes or no. Right.
But the judges put a none of the above in the judges column, and then if you don't know shit about the judges, just take yourself
in
out of that
my area.
one.
It's not pick 1 of 5 or 3 of 5 or whatever. It's here's the 8 judges, yes or no, each one, and they're not related.
So what if
city council, there might be 4 slots, and there's 8 people on the list. Pick 4.
Well, I'm not going to.
And again, of course,
I'm not going to go through every voting example here. All I'm going to say is that if there's a concern that an uneducated voter will have to flip a coin,
so don't
put an opt out in.
Or how about just leaving a blank? Don't vote yes or no.
However you want to do the opt-out option, do the opt-out option. You have to fill out a ballot. You have to sign your name. You have to put something on there, whether it even be I opt out of all of this. But you still have to do that.
That's it. So you get your ballot, and you go, I don't give a shit about anything. I sign it, and I mail it in.
You know what? If everyone got a ballot and everyone had to fill it out, you might get a lot of none of the aboves, but you get a lot more voter turnout than we get today. A whole lot more.
Possibly.
And I am in favor of policies and programs that would make the access to that vote easier, making Election Day a holiday. Although I guess the question is, well, how is it a holiday for the election workers?
Okay, so are we at the point where we can invite Dune back in?
I take it you've grown tired of this topic. Does Sparky have anything more to say about this?
Hey, Sparky.
I'd love to get some feedback. I'd love to get Dune feedback on this one, even if it's addressing down and tell me all the reasons why I'm wrong, and that's the facts. But I'm not saying that's how Dune would do it. But let's see. A lot of people, I say, just go by the name. If you're Asian, you vote for the Asian judge. Polish, vote for the Polish. Italian, vote for. Now that's a bad way to vote.
Oh, but, in Connecticut, my brother actually could come up with the exact details, but there have been a number of cases where, so the guy is running for some spot in a highly Italian neighborhood, but he is a Polish, and it's obvious that his name is Polish. So what he does, he'll change a letter to his name to look more Italian, and then he gets elected.
Huh. Well, anyways, I guess Sparky's bringing out some bullshit in the ways people vote, but whether the turnout's lower or higher, you're always going to have elements of bullshit in how people vote, but everyone's free to vote. If someone wants to flip a coin, if someone wants to vote for all the A last names or all the Z last names, I mean, that's the thing. The only thing I'm suggesting is require them to vote and give them ease of access to the vote so there's no excuse not to.
Right.
Whether that be by mail-in ballots for everyone with some kind of registration system that aligns with Social Security numbers but I mean, you have to change some laws and restrictions for that, because I think legally it's illegal to use Social Security number for anything other than Social Security. So, you know, basically there's a lot of logistics that would have to be worked out to make
so instead you use the driver's license.
Not everyone has a driver's license, though.
Well, you could get a state ID.
Everyone can get a state ID, but now you're putting a requirement on someone. I think everyone should have access to an ID that you know is free, and they just have to have it.
or you have it on your for those states that have a state income tax, they have it on the state income tax form. Oh, by the way, do you want to be registered to vote? I see you're paying taxes. Thank you for paying taxes.
By the way, here's where you register to vote because this is required. You know, you're required to pay taxes. You're required to vote. I mean, really, I don't think it's that big a deal to require people to vote. I mean, sure we could get into the nitty gritty of what penalties or how you're going to penalize, and to me, I don't care. Slap on the wrist.
Of course,
it's about
that
changing
form,
the mentality in this society. It's not about the penalty or the force of it.
At that form where you pay your taxes, since the form is not specifically addressed to you, in other words, it doesn't indicate that you're registered to vote, it would not require you to register to vote. Right? Because what if you're not eligible to vote? You were convicted of a felony, or you're an illegal alien, or you've got a green card. You're not eligible to vote.
Well, like I said, I don't have the answers for all the logistics of the system. That's why.
What's interesting.
That's
is
supposed
that,
to be what our politicians are supposed to be doing when they're not singing shit back and forth
for
at each other.
example, a cop pulls over an old folk because this guy should not be driving.
Right.
They'll write him up. You got to show up to have your license renewed. The driver ignores it and nothing happens. Or a doctor fills out a form. This person should not be driving, sends it to the DMV, and the DMV does nothing.
Well,
the guy's still on the road.
Well, if the person gets a ticket and they don't show up, that results in a bench warrant, which should result in them getting.
Yeah. But
I mean,
I think my other case is
dudes rolling the dice. Yeah.
Some doctor says you shouldn't be driving anymore, sends in a form to the DMV, and nothing happens.
Well, I think that is a real problem in society, that
Sure.
taking away driving privileges from someone incapable of driving. And there are cases where family members have to sit down with their relatives and be the bad guys. And I know there are times where people are like, why can't the government do this so I don't have to?
Be the good guy. So my uncle was told he shouldn't drive anymore, and he was brought before court. And my dad went down to court to explain why he needed to drive.
Okay. But that doesn't change. See, I agree that taking away driving privileges from someone that's capable of driving and needs to get to work is counterproductive to society, because now you're preventing someone from pulling a paycheck and being able to keep a roof over their head.
Well, that was probably one of the. I mean, I didn't see what his arguments were.
But someone who is elderly and can't drive anymore.
Right.
Gothard and I fixed this one years ago. We fixed this one.
You guys did?
Yeah. It's very simple.
Awesome.
When you turn 80 years old, you can turn in your driving privileges in exchange for the right to legally do any narcotics and drugs you want to.
Oh, there you go.
As long as you stay off the road. So once you turn 80, you do heroin, just turn in your license and you get a card that allows you to stay home and do all the drugs you want to do. This idea seemed funnier when I was in my 20s.
It did seem funnier.
It did seem funnier when I was in my 20s. I'm trying to.
Here's the question.
I'm struggling to see the humor in 80-year-olds doing heroin now.
Especially when you were 20 years old. How did that person get those drugs? He gets in a car to go get them, right?
We set up a delivery system for
It's
them.
like Texas is full of dry counties where you cannot get alcohol, which forces you to drive to the next county to get the alcohol that you need.
You call an Uber for it, or you DoorDash, or Black
That
Tar
happens
Dash.
good today, but when you were
know.
20 years old, none of those services existed.
No, well, we were still working out the details back then when we were coming up with this idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, what do you think, Brian? When you turn 80, would you turn in your driving privileges for?
Actually,
drugs?
my grandmother was in Chicago when she turned to 80, and they took away her license, and there was really no recourse to it.
Now, Sparky, I think goes to, and I agree with this statement. I think this is what I was trying to allude to. Needing to drive does not trump not being able to drive safely. I don't care if you need to drive. If you're a hazard, you don't drive, drops Mike. Now, I agree with that.
No problem. I have no problem with that.
Right. The elderly driver or
But
the blind driver.
In the case of Illinois, you turned 80, your license was gone. There was no testing. There was no nothing. You would no longer drive. And that is clearly wrong. Because there are people that are in their 100s, their 90s, that are perfectly capable of driving.
That would go against discrimination laws in this day and age, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if that was overturned.
I'm sure that would be that would have had to have been overturned in the courts, if not by the legislation.
But I don't live in Illinois, so I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
but no. My only point is, if someone is capable of driving or capable of passing a test to hold a license, but they do something that results in their license. You know what I'm in favor of? I'm in favor of restricted driving privileges, that instead of losing your license for something like the type of violation where you lose your license, even though you still could drive safely, where you're still allowed to drive yourself to your job and back. Because,
of course, chances are if you're in your 80s, you're not working anymore.
Right. Well, I'm not talking about 80 years old. I'm talking about I get the logic of losing your license for a DUI or losing your license for driving without insurance, because those are irresponsible things that could cause damage, and that makes you a hazard on the road in a certain sense, that you would drive in hazardous ways. But when you take away someone's ability to get to their job that they may be capable of doing, that's not good for society either. So I'm in favor of I don't know.
But in a lot of places, you have a bus, you have a commuter train, you have other options. Driving is not the
there
only
are
thing.
options in places. Not every place has the same options, and mass transit in this country, let's face it, is a joke in many areas. So that's where I'm in favor of
absolutely
of restricted driving privileges, where you can still, as long as you're going to be within the law and get yourself legal with the law, you could still drive yourself to your job and back and still draw an income.
But then this guy that has restricted driving privileges, does he drive to work? He leaves work, stops at Home Depot. Is he breaking the law?
That is the tricky thing there, and that is, but is Home
or you
Depot...
stop at the grocery store on the way home because you need food. Are you breaking the law?
I think it wouldn't be hard to write in a restriction as to the legal definition of driving to work and driving back, that if something is X amount of distance of your path, that is a valid stop on the way there or on the way back. If you got to, make a few turns to get to the grocery store.
But let's say that Home Depot or whatever is in the opposite direction from your house. So you pass your house to get to Home Depot, and then...
Well, that's where maybe we just write in a distance off of a certain allowable deviation distance, or you could have now Sparky says,
and what type of, so just because you had a DUI, you get this this pass on the punishment?
What's that?
Because of a DUI, you get a pass on this punishment.
I'm saying we change what the punishment is for certain offenses. If you can drive without being a hazard, but you have lost your driving privileges, you should still have restricted driving privileges to get yourself to your income and back. And heck, you know what? To be honest, since this person did break the law and this is a fine, I'd be fine with a zero tolerance policy on stopping on the way there or back, because we're making this one exception for you. We didn't even have to do that,
right?
But that certainly, if we're going to talk about that, it's certainly fair to talk about deviations. I don't know.
Or as Sparky suggests, you use Amazon. Of
right.
course, you could use a delivery service.
Right. Now here's the thing. I am not familiar with current state laws as far as revoking of driving privileges. I know I've heard of the concept of being allowed to drive yourself to work and back. It's a concept I've heard of. I don't know if anyone's actually doing it or if it was just discussion. All I know is when I heard the idea, I was in favor of that. That's all.
All right.
That's all I really got for that. It certainly has some
All right.
complications to the law to have to
I noticed
enforce
that we also dropped. We also lost Mars.
Well, he did say he had to get a shower, but he I'm sure he'll come back if he wants to. But anyways, that was what I had this week. That was something that was that whole
All right.
voter turnout thing is just what I keep coming back to in my mind.
Right.
Because that is something that could be influenced. I use the word manipulated. Maybe influenced was the better word, because being able to influence something isn't a bad thing, but being, the turnout of our country being an influenceable thing by different factors that may be.
Well, and to me, I think the loose money in campaigns is not a good thing.
Well, I'm in favor of, campaign finance reform stuff, getting less money and get money out of the system. I'm certainly in favor of things like that. I don't have all the answers or the logistics on all of that. I just know, but yeah, I think there's a lot of problems with our system. And I think people on all sides of the aisle can think that there's problems with this current system. And I think there could be even some common ground to find there.
Personally, I'd like to see some restriction on money coming into a specific jurisdiction. So if a guy's running for governor, the money should be only from within his state. If working for a senator, only from within his state. If it's a representative, money only from within his district.
Totally makes sense and totally logical.
And probably totally not enforceable.
Well, yeah, there's that. But then also, I think part of the reason the left was so successful in 2008 was because Howard Dean did a lot of work on building up the party within all 50 states. The 50 states. I forget what the name of that was, the all state or the 50. But that was Howard Dean as head of the Democratic Party did a lot of work building up the Democratic Party in all the states, and that led to quite the victory in 2008 with the majorities we had in the House. The Senate. There was a lot of groundwork that went into 2008.
Sure.
Whether you liked that outcome or you didn't like that outcome, there was a lot of groundwork that went into that.
Well, but even still, every party should make an effort in every jurisdiction.
Right, but yeah, and Sparky says exactly, I agree, and I think he's agreeing to the whole, the money for each election,
Sure.
for each position should only come from the district or the state or the Commonwealth or the
Jurisdiction or whatever.
jurisdiction. Yeah, I don't know how you enforce that though, especially when these are national parties.
So here's the strange thing.
Yeah.
In California here, if there is a League of Women Voters, they're not even around. I don't know what that's about. In every other state I've lived in, you get the mailing from the League of Women's Voters that tells about all the candidates. Okay. Here, you get a flyer from the Secretary of State office. So this is a government document where the candidate gets to put in a brief blurb, right? This time around, and I believe that there are strings attached. So if there's something about your campaign finances that doesn't follow the rules for this thing, you cannot participate. Here's one example. This time, this election where Governor Newsom was on the list, he had no blurb in that document. The frickin' governor did not have a blurb.
No blurb.
Nothing.
Weird.
Of course, he's a visible
No.
person, so maybe he didn't need one. But there was
that is still odd,
state representative, for the state legislature, person that didn't have a blurb in it. This was several years back, and she was on Twitter, and so I tweeted her, so like, hey, I took a picture of the blank page that says, hey, what's up? I don't know anything about you. And the response from that person was, go to my website because we didn't want to do that because it's just bullet points. You go to the person's web page, and what is it? It's just bullet points. So what the fuck is she saying?
Yeah. Sparky dropped a big thing. And I'm gonna bring this up because he typed it. Sparky writes in, no, Obama won because of the color of his skin. So many people voted for him just because of his skin color. I will not believe anything else, but no one will admit that they did that. Certainly they're very well. I can't speak for every voter in this country, but certainly a candidate's race can be a factor in someone's
Can you use the same statement about Trump, how he got elected? Because he was white?
I'm not even going to go there because that's not relevant to the election we're talking about.
I think it's just the other side of the coin.
I think the other side of the coin is there very well may have been people that voted for Obama because he was black. There very well may have been people that voted against him because he was black. Which was the bigger factor? The number of people that voted because he was black.
Maybe they voted for him because he was a Democrat.
That's the thing, is that there are many factors. Sparky feels strongly that was a very big factor, and I don't agree with that, but I don't have evidence to disprove it either.
I'm sorry, I wasn't talking about all presidents. I was only mentioning Trump as a example. And it was a question. It was a question.
No,
if you think the answer is no, then okie dokie. That's what you believe.
Sparky feels strongly that Obama being a black presidential candidate was a large factor in many people's votes.
And he was only half black.
Well, is there even such a thing, though? But I know what you're saying. Anyways, no, I mean,
his mother was white.
But the thing is let's not forget there was the pendulum swing. W was a very unpopular president by the end of his time there, and that also drew some popularity away. That was a factor. Obama, say what you will, he had charisma. And he had a good campaign. I mean, you might disagree with that. And that's my opinion.
Let me ask.
I think he had his message of hope. I think was a good and powerful one that did pull out the voter outcome for him.
So Sparky, let me ask you a question. Why did you bring up Obama?
Well, I brought up Obama. Come on, Brian. Be fair.
But he responded to it.
Now, Sparky thinks Obama has BS charisma. And that's your opinion. I think he had good charisma. And that's my opinion.
Ronald Reagan had BS charisma.
All right, so we've hit a nerve with Sparky here.
Yeah,
but that's okay. That's okay.
That's what we want.
I wish he was on the microphone yelling this stuff. Then we can get the passion in his voice on this. Because okay, I don't know. I guess you feel there was some bullshit there that he was as popular as he was, and you feel that it was undeserved because the race played a factor. I don't agree with that, but I see what you're saying.
Well, to some extent, he's right.
Well,
I saw black people that were jumping up and down saying, "Yes, finally we got a black president! Yay!"
Yeah,
is that the only factor?
Certainly that was a factor, but let's
no,
not.
But was it the only factor?
But
I'm going to say no.
And I think that factor also goes up against the factor of people who were against a black president, and I think neither sides are really going to talk much about that when casting their vote. But that certainly exists in this country too. Does one cancel out the other? Is one more powerful than the other? I don't know. I think Sparky would think that the pro-black crowd outperformed the anti-black crowd in that election. And I don't have any statistics I could point to. I mean, we could make some up because 87% of but Sparky is a fair point from Sparky is that it was a big factor with the blacks. One might point out that black voter turnout tends to be more left-leaning, but that's a generalization that I
But
don't
that's
want to lean
different.
too
That's
heavily
also
on.
a different issue.
But you
Let's-
know what?
let's take-
You
let's
know what?
take-
You know what? This might play
Let's
more.
take Herschel Walker instead.
Well, let me finish this thought, because I think I can bring this back to the original topic, which is things that influence voter turnout influence the outcome of elections. And maybe Sparky's example is a perfect example of what I was saying, that just by having a black candidate drove out more black voters that wanted a black president, and that impacted the voter turnout and impacted the outcome.
All right, so let's bring up Herschel Walker.
Let's bring up Herschel Walker. Since
Sparky,
want
would
to.
you vote for him because he's black or because he's not, or whatever?
Well, Sparky's in the wrong state for that. But I guess the question
well,
would
no,
be,
no. I mean, in theory, would you vote for him? If that was on your ballot, would you vote for him?
now Sparky says, exactly, Johnny, now you're getting what I'm saying. I think we're kind of getting each other in a way. Now, I don't think how big of a factor that was, I don't know. But anyways, Sparky writes in, I don't know Herschel Walker. So Sparky's paying attention to local relevant, I will say something that's very interesting about the Herschel Walker and the, what's Warnock's first name? I forget Warnock's first name. I just know Warnock. I had a teacher in high school whose last name was Warnock.
Really?
Yeah, he wasn't
You
black.
think they were related?
No.
Oh,
Not unless one of them was adopted. But anyways, what's interesting is what the Herschel Walker and the Walker Warnock election pretty much came out 49% each. Neither of them had a majority,
Very
so it
close,
has to go
yeah.
to a runoff. Now, if you
Yep.
look at the numbers that come out there, what is it? I think Warnock has the plurality, but they don't declare the plurality a winner. But the third candidate, the spoiler, is a libertarian. And if there was ranked voting in Georgia, I think most of those votes for the libertarian would have probably put Walker as their second choice.
Over the top.
Right. So ranked voting probably would have given it to Walker, but plurality voting would have probably given it to Warnock. But we're going to a runoff, which once again is determined by the turnout.
Yeah, you
which
bump
is,
out the libertarian and say, okay, vote again.
but the
for these
turnout's
two
going to be
guys.
different. It's a different turnout now. So now it's a whole different ball game.
Well, because you get to vote again.
You know,
Who do you really want?
So I'm curious which of those three options people are more favorable of, giving to Warnock for having the plurality, or putting a ranked choice voting in place and possibly having it go to Walker with the libertarian votes going to Walker, or going to the runoff. Which is the better option in that situation? Now, OX64 said, I'm guessing Dude must not be here right now. You know what? I really tried to make today's discussion be more centric issue discussion that would be maybe a lot of disagreement, but not enraging types of disagreement. We're not talking about, the
Well, are you
rage issues.
enraged? Are you enraged?
I'm not enraged.
I'm
right
not
now.
enraged.
You're enraged?
I am not.
Oh, you're not. Yeah.
Hey,
So-
Sparky, are you enraged?
No. Walker and Warnock are both black. Just to clarify the race to Sparky.
Hey, that's equal.
Yeah, and Warnock is the incumbent Democrat senator in Georgia, and Herschel Walker is challenging him on the Republican ticket.
Right.
So your choices in Georgia are liberal black guy or conservative black guy, or it was libertarian, and 2% went to the libertarian, which messed
he
this
only
all
got
up.
2%. He only got 2%.
Well, he or less than that, because they each had like 49%. I mean, it was like split
Right.
nearly down the middle, because neither of them got the 50% threshold that was needed to have the majority to
Right.
win
That's
the race.
right. That's right. That's
And-
right. That's
and
why I
George-
even forget that the Libertarian was on the list.
And
But then does that play to the power of the two-party system?
it does, because now basically the two-party system turns third-party candidates into spoilers
Okay.
that impact
hold
outcomes.
on. I got to
Okay.
go pee. Hang on.
Okay. Sparky writes in, both black, then it will be close. But since most blacks are Democrat, I will say the black Dem will get it. Well, it's. I mean, it was a very like I said, it was 49%, with the Libertarian spoiling, preventing either of them getting the majority. And it comes down to the runoff turnout now, which is a different turnout from the initial turnout. So I don't, but I know at times, I hate to keep singling out Dune here. It's totally not fair to him, but I know at times Dune has said negative things about runoff elections, and I know he said negative things about ranked choice elections, which leads me to think that the only option that's left, and I think this is a typical conservative point, but I don't know because I don't pay much attention. But I think generally what I've seen is that the preference on conservatives is the plurality. Everyone comes out, you have one election, whoever gets the most votes, well, they get it. In which case, it would go to Warnock for having the plurality, even though the 2% that went to the Libertarian probably would have put Walker for a second choice. So that's where I'm kind of wondering, in this case example of this election for Georgia, what is everyone's opinion on this runoff election versus giving it to the Warnock as a plurality versus having a ranked choice and Walker probably getting it? You see how different ways of running an election could have very different results. Which way is more fair? And people will argue for all those points, even though they have different outcomes. Sparky writes in, it does not matter either way. The Dems have majority in the Senate. I think the citizens of Georgia would disagree on that. I think a lot of them care about who represents them, whether or not it changes things or not. And actually, a 50-50 split is not a majority. It's only a majority in casting votes with the tiebreaker. A 51-49 would actually be a majority. So Warnock getting the runoff election would probably have a certain level of impact in how this session in the Senate's going to go. Not that it matters all that much because I can't get anything through the House. But now we're going to get... OX64 rated, no opinion at all. I don't support elections at all. Let him have it their way.
And there's a guy that won't vote, right?
And Sparky's not happy. Here's my shocked face that Sparky isn't happy with the Senate race outcome in Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, too bad.
And I'm not going to talk about Dr. Oz. Because that's when Sparky would really start screaming.
I went to visit Pittsburgh a couple months ago, right?
Right.
And one of the first things I saw was this bumper sticker on this car.
Yeah.
Oz for New Jersey.
Oh, so that was an anti-Oz sticker.
To me, that was just funny.
I wasn't even going to go there. I wasn't going to go there.
It was funny as hell.
People could talk about Hillary running in New York. People could talk about that. People have run in different states a lot of time. I think it's a valid criticism, but I think it's also a thing that can turn into a bunch of finger pointing at both sides. So,
well, even when say congressional districts move around, and you find, oh, that guy doesn't live in the district anymore. Does he have a right to be that candidate there? So what does he do? Move into into his best chance for winning?
Yeah, districting is such a load of bullshit.
All I have to say is California finally went to an independent, bipartisan method of choosing the districts rather than, shall we say, the political power, the political party that has the power at the time decides. That to me is wrong. I have a lot of problems with the two-party system.
No.
Unfortunately, it works better than the other versions where you have all of these like Italy. They can't even form a government that lasts because
there's got to be some level of balance and some room for more powerful third parties.
Sure.
And that's where I think ranked choice comes into play. But that's a tough sell for a lot of people. So I'm not even going. I've said enough.
Look
about
at
that
how
in
many
the past.
third-party spoilers that have been in major races. Ross Perot. A lot of people decided, I like that guy, I'm going to vote for him, but didn't understand that there's no freaking way he was going to win because of the strength of the two-party system.
But I don't think any of his votes changed the outcome of any of the state's elections. I don't think he actually impacted.
That's just one example.
Yeah.
George Wallace also ran as a third party.
Right.
It pretty much did end the Democrats, so Nixon won.
Right. Well, and that's why I'm in favor of ranked choice voting, because our current election system basically turns third-party candidates into spoilers. And I don't think
you don't think as a ranked choice that it would become a spoiler.
Well, I think ranked choice eliminates spoiler, because then you could just put in the second choice instead of going to a plurality.
I
anyways,
think there's going to be a lot of people. There will be a lot of people that will be
there's a lot of conversation
with...
going on in the chat we need to catch up on.
Right.
So Ox64 wrote in that Pennsylvania was a shit show anyways, either a brain dead dude or a TV show personality. Now, I don't think it's I was going to try to just gloss over this topic, because clearly this is going to be a relevant topic that Sparky Toast is going to have strong feelings for. But Fetterman suffered a stroke. It's not that he can't think, it's that he actually has
a speech
a medical condition, speech impediment that he has to overcome, which makes it all that much more inspiring that he was able to win. Now, if you don't like his policies, you're not going to see that as inspiring.
By the way, did you see Jon Stewart on Colbert the other night?
No, I did not. I'll have to catch it on YouTube.
In fact, go to YouTube and look that up.
All right. So Sparky,
I'm not going to say for now because we don't have time. It's about 10-minute deal.
So, but Sparky,
his main point was, you have all these people in Congress, Republicans, Democrats, idiots, morons, smart people, dumb people, people that dance on poles, POLE. That is.
Right.
A pole dancer. The people that really get the work done are the congressional aides. And this was a statement from Jon Stewart. It's actually very fascinating. So to some extent, you're voting for this guy that hopefully will pick the people that will really get the work done.
Ultimately, that person.
Like one of the statements, he says, there's a really hilarious section on Bernie Sanders that he does. Just for that, it's worth watching.
Okay,
it's very funny.
We'll let the people decide they want to pull that up and watch it or not.
But so what is it? What they're saying is, so a senator or a congressman will show up on the bench, and he's sitting there. He doesn't have access to a cell phone or any outside information. He's thrown this measure that he hasn't read, and he has to vote on it. Is that fucked up these days, or what?
I mean, that is fucked up. Certainly.
So you have the congressional aides that work with him to say, yeah, this is a good one. Go for it.
Well, I think the aides should be doing other work to leave the person time to read and the bills and form their own opinions on it. But then also, really, even if you don't read the bill, aren't you supposed to represent your constituents? Maybe your constituents.
Well, I mean, that's
so your constituents should have access to the bill ahead of time, and you should have time to, hear from your constituents, whether that be by poll or town
let's say
halls.
hopefully those aides are the people from your district.
Well,
or
I
your
think
jurisdiction.
legislation needs to go out to the people to read, digest, and talk about in town halls when people go home to talk to their constituents. And I'm sure you could come up with examples of both sides of the aisle where this is totally not happening because our system doesn't. But you know, that's yeah. I think I'm going to preach to a choir there on that. You know, put it online, let everyone read it. Let everyone go home and talk to their constituents about it, get some dialogue going, and then come back in and vote on it based on what you heard from your constituents. That's how it's meant to work. That's how it's supposed to work. That should be what's happening for some of this, at least. Certainly town halls do happen, although usually they're attended by loud people that just want to shout about everything they hate. And that's a real problem, too, that we need to actually get back to actually discussing.
Shall we
things.
say a town hall will not make the decision?
No, but the people should be making the decision, and the representatives should be
that's why you vote
voting.
for people.
Yeah, but
that's exactly why I have a problem with propositions. It's like, wait a minute, we have a dozen propositions on the ballot this time. What does the fucking legislature do?
Well, I mean, are we voting for people to think for us? No, we're voting for people to represent us. So they should be in communication with us about these issues and about these things and really understand what their constituents want them to do. Because if they don't, they're going to get voted out. Anyways, at this point, we've gone beyond so anyways, Sparky felt that Fetterman was unqualified due to the stroke, and I guess, you know, medical conditions and capabilities is certainly a topic.
But also let's say he does come up with, you know, this really just happened. This happened just before the election. If he does find that he is incompetent, he can always resign, and then the state mechanism for replacing him would be invoked. There are a lot of people in Congress that are not qualified. On that basis, Sparky, I agree with you. There will be people that are unqualified.
Now, I think I may have misrepresented Sparky a little bit, and so let me just pull this up here. Hey, I don't dislike Fetterman. I am starting him out with a clean slate, but I am not holding my breath that he will be good for PA. Fair enough. Fair enough. My apologies for just kind of automatically classifying you as, oh, well, you didn't like him. I went to good, bad side mentality, and that's my bad. Let's see. Fetterman did run after someone with a gun, though, in his small town he was a mayor in, I believe, which anyone else would have spent time in jail for.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Fetterman did run after someone with a gun, though, in a small town.
Fetterman had a gun?
That's, I think, what he's trying to imply there, and implying that power does go to Fetterman's head. Fetterman will never resign. I will bet $5,000 on that. Well, you know, but I think the only way anyone resigns in politics is when they're told that if you don't resign, you'll be removed, and we have the votes to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's.
But then what is their criteria? To me, if you're going to remove somebody, there has to be a criteria.
Yeah. Well, actually, no.
You know, is there a medical test to say that he is incompetent?
Well, what was that test? Horse, house, pony.
Whatever it is.
I've already forgotten the words, so I forget what the meme was on that one. No, I think that's a safe bet that he won't resign. But I think the question is does he have a condition that incapacitates him enough to need to resign? And
if Jon Stewart is correct that the aides are doing all the grunt work and saying, yeah, this is a good bill, go pass it. Well, isn't that good enough?
Yeah, but we don't want it to be a ship without a captain.
Do you think there'd be no captain?
Well, if Fetterman,
I mean, there's suggestion that the late years of Ronald Reagan, the captain was Nancy Reagan.
Yeah, well, there is that, and that's a topic that
whether that's true or not is another question. But
yeah. and there we go. And
Yeah, but Biden didn't have a stroke. Biden has a speech impediment that he's lived with for forever. A speech impediment is not a disqualification. He's not a drooling idiot.
well, some people think Biden is.
He doesn't throw ketchup on the wall.
Well, that takes energy.
Is energy a qualification?
So, well, Sparky's suggesting that Biden has dementia, but I don't think he does. But that's neither one of us has access to his medical records, so
Come on, what, Sparky?
come on, Brian.
On what?
On Biden having dementia, I guess.
This is a shit show.
Your news feeds hide that from you. He does. Are there any actual medical records you can point us to that Biden has dementia? Because that's what really is relevant. You know what? I saw a lot of gas from W. But I mean, collecting presidential gaffes is a natural American pastime, much like baseball and apple pie.
Sure.
I mean, heck, I could collect.
Or Jerry Ford's stumbling was funny and imitated by comedians all the time.
He fell down a lot. He did.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase would open Saturday Night Live pretending to be Gerald Ford, listening to the Easter parade while decorating the Christmas tree.
Right.
Classic.
Yeah.
And it was classic because there was no land shark involved at all in that sketch.
Exactly.
So, all right. So I think we have driven Mars away permanently.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We'll see you next week, Mars.
So hey, Sparky, think you can handle a one-on-one show sometime? Just Gators, Sparky talks politics for fun and sport. I don't know. Think that could work? Sparky is paging Dune.
Yeah. Make it a three-way, right?
Sparky still says no. Oh, I would love to. Well, here's the thing. I think I'd like to get a 4-person show. Like me being really liberal, maybe someone like you, Brian, that's a more, moderate liberal, get a anti-Trump Republican that is still very hard Republican, but not a fan of Trump, and get a Trump Republican to kind of have both sides of the aisles equally represented and different aspects from each side of that aisle, and kind of have a 4-panel show and find a topic and ground rules that we could have civil discourse. And I think that would be an interesting show. I just don't know how to find people, and not to mention I have enough shows already. But I got to stop putting the pressure on Sparky. He doesn't want to do it, and if that all I know about Sparky is he likes listening to my show and all the things he types in, and he's a cool dude. I wouldn't mind grabbing a beer with. But
sure.
I'm not. I should probably stop turning the spotlight towards him as much as I am. Putting him on the spot here. That's not fair.
Well, he is kind of the third wheel here. I mean,
now OX64 writes in, so basically you're saying you'd do a version of ABC's popular show, The View.
So OX64, that means I'm not going to show up.
It would be like The View with cursing and Boz Scaggs music in the background.
Oh, okay.
There you go. That's what we would do. It's like The View, but with cursing and Boz Scaggs.
Right, and we have 3 minutes to pick up a...
We do, because we are reaching that point again where, once again, we have reached the end of another fun-filled edition of...
Insert title here.
But we do try to be educational here.
And I'm going to jump in and see what the ad is.
Okay, so, Brian, what have you learned here this week?
On December 16th, a motion picture event of a generation arrives. Oh, it's Avatar. Is it 3?
Avatar 3?
I don't know yet. It doesn't tell me. I know there's another one coming out, and I lost count what it is.
Or that'd be 2, I think. I don't think they had a second one yet.
3D experience on sale. The name flashed up so quickly, I didn't see what it was. Anyway, so Avatar, next movie coming out in December.
Now, Sparky clarifying that he's not a Trump diehard anymore. Do not point me as such, but sure don't lean Dem either. Okay, well, I wasn't saying who. In fact, to be honest, I had no idea if Sparky was a Trump fan or not, and I wasn't trying to suggest that he would play the role of the. In fact, I want Dune to be the Trumper, but his heart can't take it, so he won't do. You know, I've asked him about doing political shows, and we've had our times
and he said
where
no.
Yeah, and probably for good reason, because we have had our times where topics.
So Sparky
get
is saying no, Dune is saying no, and
Yeah.
I'm sticking with no.
You're sticking
so,
with no. But you
hey,
don't.
you could do a solo show.
But you don't shy away when the opportunity presents itself here.
Well, sure, but then again, I look to see if Dune is around first. If he's not around, I won't be involved.
Now, OX64 writes in, I don't care much for Trump. The only good thing is he talks about what he's doing or done, even if it's filled with some BS. He at least attempts.
You mean lies?
Biden doesn't do jack crap except accuse everyone else every press conference. That's one point of view. I don't know why everyone is so scared to do a show.
To his point, essentially the Republican Trumpian
Right.
strategy is working because Biden even talks about the other guys. He's not talking about what he is doing. And even with the liberal news media, all they're doing is talk about what Trump is doing, not really what the Democrats are doing.
Anyways,
so this strategy is totally working.
Anyways, Sparky writes in, I learned it takes 3 receivers to get one good one. Now, Brian, did you say what you learned?
Wait a minute. He said it takes 3 receivers to get one good one?
It takes 3 receivers to get one good one.
Do you have a good one, though?
I'm on my way there.
I'm not. Do you have to get another one to get a good one?
Well, actually, it takes a good receiver to get a good receiver, because I just hooked the line out of the bad receiver into the good receiver.
Oh, so you do have a good receiver part.
Well, I have a good current modern receiver. I have 3 bad vintage receivers with different parts that work. But I will get one working one at the end. So Sparky's equation will turn out to be true eventually.
Or are you gonna have to get another one to get?
No, I'm done buying Fisher receivers. I'm looking for a sound design now. Anyways, I have learned that Mars likes to take really long showers when we talk about politics. Sparky saying swap parts so you get one good one. Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, what I need to do is I need to test the transistors, because I think Sparky was on to something talking about transistors last time when I have like a channel that's not working.
Right now, are you gonna replace all the caps first?
No, I'm gonna test the transistors first because.
Do you have a transistor tester?
Well, like we talked about, you could test them with a multimeter. The problem is that the transistor's on a board that's underneath this mirror thing that comes out where all the light bulbs are in the light. So I have to do some disassembly.
Do you know what values you're looking for in that case?
I have online documentations I've read on how to do this. So, Brian, what have you learned this week? Because we got a raid.
I have learned something about getting multiple receivers to get a single one work.
There you go.
Not clear that 3 are enough.
I learned that buying the exact same cassette player I had when growing up suddenly sparked an interest in me of pulling out my old cassette tapes and listening to them, and I had no idea that was going to happen. Now, I have no interest in going out and buying more cassettes, I had fun playing my old cassettes because I had the same player that the same type of player that I originally played them on. OX64 rating, and most time you'll need MCP, matching complementary pairs, for any final transistors to avoid issues. Yeah, no, if I'm going to replace transistors, I'm going to replace them in pairs, because what you do on one side, you're going to want to do on the other. But I also would research it a little more, too. Starkey writes, in no values, they pass continuity or they don't. Depends how you bias them when testing. Okay. Thank you, Sparky.
I have no bias in that discussion.
Yeah. All right, we are going to raid Thug Shells is what we're going to do, because
What?
Thug Shells is live.
Who?
Thug Shells. Thug Shells. You're going to like Thug Shells. Have you not seen Thug Shells yet?
That one is not on my list.
All right, we're going to raid Thug Shells, so stick around.
Hot damn, a newbie.
We will be back next week, and hopefully we'll just talk more about eating turkey and how that went. And keep Mars around for the
By
whole
the way,
show
do you
next week.
you got it? You got
I
it?
do. Yeah.
Oh, so breaking news on that front. Breaking news.
Well, we already rated.
Talks to.
Well, we're still live on YouTube, and we're still live on the streams, so you could finish.
Chuck it in there, right? So I had a discussion with my cousin where we're going to go for Thanksgiving, and there's a possibility that she may cancel last minute.
Oh, so you might not got the turkey.
So that means we may sneak out to get a small turkey.
Well, you'll have to update us next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for that story. You all have a good night.
All right. Yeah. Hey, and thanks, Sparky. Thanks, OX64. Thanks, Mars, if you're hearing us.